The next day comes, and the first thing the master does is make the mage-only building the magic research lab, and its function has been unlocked. He also constructs the alchemy lab and library, and these three buildings synthesize with the training grounds to make a magic hall. Ivoka is seen running alongside Han, complaining about this torturous training, wondering why a royal like herself even has to do this. Han thinks that if she's going to be stationary while casting, she needs to at least have the agility to dodge attacks. Han tells her to stop whining and continue running. It's important to build stamina on the battlefield. Han thinks she looks better in her workout clothes, but Ivoka explains that her robe is a magic item that increases flame potency, and it was passed down within her family. Han mocks Ivoka that this stamina training is cake compared to what he usually does, and he speeds up, telling the girl that she must want to eat potatoes for dinner if she can't keep up. But Han looks up to see the master, looking down but not doing anything. The 10th floor is approaching, and the master improved the waiting room with the magic hall. And thanks to this, Han was able to farm the 3 different daily dungeons. A lot of materials are waiting in the storehouse for Han to use, to make better equipment. But now, it's time to make use of the alchemy lab to create some potions. Whatever logs out, and Han tells Jenna to watch Ivoka run while he goes to craft. Making potions usually requires a high level, and pharmacists and alchemists are needed. But it's just like the weapon creation in the fact that Han can make stuff without the skill or the blueprints. He enters the magic hall and picks up a book, and he can't seem to understand the language. He goes to a pot and pulls up the manual challenge, and it seems this time it's a rhythm game. Han successfully makes some low-grade health potions and mana pots. Han thinks the master might get suspicious, but it's better to try than not have them and die. Han meets up with Eren and Jenna and puts them around the blazer. With a wicked gaze, he tells them, with a fire mage in their party, they're gonna have to get used to the flame. He plunges his hand in the burning coals, and Han endures the pain for 10 seconds, and removes his scorched hand. But he is immediately healed right after. They need to build their flame tolerance when Ivoka has such wide AoE attacks. The two get scared at having to torture themselves like this, but Han tells them to endure it as long as they can. They need to repeat this insane act until they gain the fire resistance skill. Remember the 5th floor? We need to be prepared for the 10th. Eren tries to plunge his hand into the fire, but Han stops him. He doesn't take pleasure in watching him suffer. What he did today was a demonstration. He tells the two to do this with no one around. Jenna is too scared, but Han has a devilish smile and volunteers to help her. He stops teasing Jenna and tells her that if they can't protect Ivoka, there's a good chance that they will die. He gives Eren another piece of homework, pain resistance, and hands him a knife and tells him how he does so is completely up to him, but he needs to figure it out. Han knows these methods aren't ideal, but it's necessary for survival, and he doesn't want his comrades to die. Fighting while enduring pain is a must, and Jenna is scared to learn pain resistance as well. But Han tells her that she won't need it, but instead, she should focus on her switching ability. This controls how fast she can switch from her bow and daggers. Their formation they had up until this point is useless, and now they will adopt the triangle formation around the Ivoka and protect her casts, and there will be times where only 2 melee in the front won't be enough. Han says it's basically like a minigame to protect the princess. He thinks to himself that the most efficient party in the game is a dual mage setup, with the second one being more support oriented, but he can't control who he gets. The 9th floor is coming up, but will most likely be given to Party 2. There is also the chain quest that Han was investigating, but he thinks by now the master should have picked up on it. The 10th stage will have a mission where at least 2 parties need to work together. If it's a cooperation quest, the danger is unlike what they experienced up until this point. Han prepares the blazer and continues his fire resistance training. He can't afford to slack off now, and after hours of this torture, he unlocked the fire resistance skill. We shift to the next day, and Han starts it off by immediately telling Ivoka that she's pretty much useless. She needs to learn to decrease the power of her spell to shorten the cast time, and work more on conserving her mana. The girl is insulted, but Han looks at her coldly, and she accepts, and begins her training. There is 3 layers in her fire magic. The first layer is Ignite to send flames outward from her hand. Second is Scorch, which explodes flames at a given point, and the third is Raise, which creates an updraft of fire, and the more layers she adds on, the more mana the spell will consume, and the effect is more destructive. But if they miss their one shot, it could spell disaster. While Ivoka works on that, Han begins training with Jenna, and they need to squeeze every ounce of strength they can for the 10th floor. Han is seen continuing his arrow blocking training and eventually stopped using his shield and put more restrictions on himself during this type of training. Jenna is noticing his progress, but Han isn't in the mood for compliments. He gains the skill projectile defense and raises his sword and shield skill to 6. Han gets the desired skill and Jenna rushes in with her dagger, barely missing Han. She quickly switches to her bow, which impresses the man, but he was always one step ahead. He thinks that even though Jenna is a 1-star, her potential is insane. If he didn't know life the game, he would be way weaker than her. Han praises her, which makes her blush and joke around, but Han goes to grab her cheeks. He thinks to himself that a normal 1-star is closer to Eren. Even though he leveled up, his spearmanship is only at level 3. He comes out to train for a while, but most of the time he's in his room trying to learn pain resistance. Yavoka also spent her time training in the Mage Hall's special facility, learning how to use less mana in each cast for different situations. The training grounds were also getting filled with a few 1-stars, but Han hasn't found anyone interesting yet. Both of the main parties haven't found their 5th, and the Master hasn't been summoning more people. He must be planning to put those slackers in. We time skip to the next day, and Party 2 comes out of the 9th floor, seemingly exhausted. Han assumes that some limbs were lost in that floor and asks about the quest. Edith says it was subjugation of about 50 goblins, but Han asks if she noticed anything special about the area. Edith recalls her hellish experience and noticed that the floor turned to mud after it rained. Han collects this information and it now seems like it's their turn. They are sent to the 4th floor, but Han worries if this isn't good enough practice anymore. But Yavoka ended up leveling up. Han clenches his fist that currently they leveled up as much as they can on these low floors, and they also upgraded their armor from F to D rank. And Eren and Han both got sword swords as secondary weapons. 2 people from the training grounds were added to the 2 main parties, but they weren't anything special. But it's better than nothing. Yasel greets Han with a good mood and asks if he knows what quest will be in the 10th floor. It's random, so he can't be sure, and wonders what this fairy is doing here. Yasel asks why he's worried since he's like a god of this game, but if that were true, he would already have beat the 100th floor. Even though he is the Master of Masters, even Han was only able to get to the 88th floor after 2 years of playing, and dozens of parties have been wiped out. The people who play this game go through countless defeats. If they go on like this, one failure could mean Han's death. Both parties arrive at the square and the Master prepares to try the 10th floor. Han thinks he sharpened his skills to the max but still hasn't advanced to a 2-star. There's no time to think, however. This is just a game. The Master prepares the 10th floor, and even if they die, he'll just summon more heroes. He tells their 5th party member to hide in a corner somewhere, and his skill is too low to be of any help. A warning text pops up telling the Master to fill his parties before continuing, because this will be a difficult dungeon. Also, another hint pops up to use the tactics room, but Han thinks that feature might be too complicated, and makes Yasel give a tip for the Master to take along consumables in storage, and he can equip these to his heroes. Han splits up the 6 health potions and asks Edith if she's prepared. The mana potions will be exclusively used on Yavoka. Han tells Edith that it could be possible that they're separated at the start, and if that's the case, they should group up fast. Come to the center of the level. Yasel angrily tells the 2 bozos to get a move on already, but folds when she talks to Han. He just confidently tells the fairy that he'll make sure to climb this damn tower. The group is transported in and they are greeted by an NPC, trembling for his life. Han tries to kick him, but the man seems to be unable to see him. Jenna is confused, but Han knows that this is an NPC. These appear during quests, and Han always wondered why they didn't work well with the heroes, and this must be it. Han looks around to the cityscape and feels a sense of familiarity. Eren also feels this way, and then it hits them. This is the city from the 5th floor, before it's been ruined. Han is confused about the timeline, but there's no time to sit here worried about it. The only important fact is that they were summoned, and they need to complete their quest, and it hasn't started yet. They have some time to gather information, and he gives each of the members 5 minutes to scout and then return. Han climbs the bell tower trying to overlook the city. The morale of the soldier NPCs is already broken. Han looks over to see the goblin army with almost 3,000 of them running, and they also have siege towers. And to the east, there's another 900 goblins, but these ones have no siege equipment. Lastly, Han notices that there's 353 human soldiers within the castle. The manpower difference is 10 to 1, and one can tell at a single glance that this is a hopeless fight. But the quest text hasn't been revealed. If it's a survival quest like the 5th floor, Han is confident that they can do well. They can use the NPCs as bait, and now that they have a mage, it works well in these type of situations. Han meets up with Party 2, but all of a sudden, a triple warning message appears. This means the level is high difficulty, and their mission is to stop the city from falling, and the quest type is defense. With 350 NPCs and 10 heroes, they're gonna need to defend against 4,000 goblins. Han takes a breather and orders everyone to share the information that they gathered, and Han will instruct them on how to proceed. Jenna tries to talk to some NPCs, but no one seems to be able to do anything with them. Eren tells Han that the people evacuating are gathering in the center of the city, and the goblins are attacking from the north and east gates. There are no gates to the south and west, so they're all trapped. Edith gets worried, and Han lets the group know that the quest type for this dungeon is defense, and their goal is to defend the city. They need to eliminate all the enemies. Roderick has the idea to wait it out and use guerrilla tactics, but they need to stop the city from falling, so that isn't an option. Jenna notices a glowing statue that alerts Han's attention. This twin goddess statue is an objective that usually appears in special quests. This is their failure condition. If that statue is destroyed, they lose. Roderick sighs and comes to terms with the assignment, and Han gives the harsh reality to the group that if they fail this quest, they will all die. Han thinks that this is a truly outrageous mission and looks almost impossible. He thinks upon the situation, and the goblins do have the number advantage, but they only have siege equipment on the north side. If they can hold off the ladders from the north, they should be able to buy time. Han orders Edith's party to go to the north wall and help the defenders, telling her to target the ladders on the wall. Edith doesn't seem to enjoy this plan since adding an extra 5 people to a force of 300 won't change much, and Han agrees that it is a reasonable assumption, but the fighting force of Party 2 is about 50 people. The good part about this defense is the only way the goblins can scale the walls is by using ladders. Han tells Edith that if they strategically hold special parts of the wall, the defense will increase significantly. Edith is concerned with this plan since they do have to kill all the goblins, and this plan for right now is only good at buying time. The 10 to 1 difference in numbers might be too huge. Even if they join, it hardly makes a difference, and based on the 5th floor, they probably won't retreat no matter what. Han thinks back to the previous floors, and there has to be some sort of hint. The raining on the 7th floor, the broken dam, all of these hints are pointing towards the east. There should be a reason everything is hinting towards that direction. Han tries to understand, but what advantage would they have from breaking a dam? But Jenna finally remembers something. When she was next to a river, she heard the sound of horses. Han gets an epiphany and pinches Jenna's cheek for only telling him this now. Han tells Edith to buy as much time as possible and to use the NPC soldiers and citizens as bait if necessary. No matter what, keep that gate locked until Party 1 returns. Edith smiles and accepts her role, and the two parties split off. Jenna wonders if that concludes the strategy meeting, but Han just tells Jenna that unlike her, Edith is actually smart and gets things quicker. He instructs his party to get ready and to go towards the eastern gate. Eren is worried about why they are leaving the castle, but this is their only option. If they stay here, they will be annihilated. The hoarse sound that Jenna was hearing is their reinforcements. The reason the city was destroyed in the future is because these same reinforcements weren't able to arrive, meaning that they need to change the future. They need to break past the goblins and prevent the dam from being destroyed. Han and his party make their way through the fleeing citizens towards the eastern gate. Han tells Yvoka to prepare to cast as soon as the gate opens, using stage 2 flames. Han notices their 5th member is also here. He orders Eren to open the gate, which startles the soldiers as they rush to try and stop it. Eren is worried about the goblins that will swarm them if they open the gate, but Han plans to turn them into dust using fire magic. Han moves to stop the soldiers from interfering as Yvoka prepares to cast her spell. The first goblin arrow is shot through the gate, but Han intercepts. The soldiers are confused on who is hitting them, wondering if there's Ghost. The rain begins to fall, and as the gate opens, the goblins flood in. Han gets Eren out of the way, and Ignite is cast. Han tells her not to destroy the gate and aim her spell outside, and Yvoka kills countless goblins. Han instructs her to drink a mana potion in between casts, and if she's up to the task, she is the main player today. She answers confidently that she's ready for 100 more casts. Their 5th member is shitting his pants already, and Han asks him if he's really ready to follow him. Shern has his stats reduced by 30%, and Han just tells him to run to Edith. She will tell him what to do. The gate closes again, and with that, their escape route has been blocked. They get in formation around the goblins, and Han orders for stage 1 magic. The rain is getting heavier, and the group defends for 20 seconds, while Yvoka casts. They count down from 20, and each second passes, and the party is desperately trying to defend their mage. 5 seconds remain as Eren and Jenna take out multiple goblins. At 0, Yvoka casts Ignite, sending a wave of fire out of her hands, dealing massive damage. And after the heat resistance training, it's easier for the group to run through the flames, taking advantage of the path that it creates. But the rain is putting them at a disadvantage. The flames dissipate quickly. Han orders for another cast, and after another 20-second countdown, the group defends and prepares for another blast of fire. The group moves forward again, using fire as a shield. But regardless of their efforts, the goblins number in the hundreds, staring down at our heroes. Among the swarm of goblins stands a towering figure, with a red flag menacingly hovering above him. He speaks in the goblin's native language, and we can assume that this is the goblin chieftain. We shift back to Party 1, continuing their flame tunnel strategy, and Han noticed that the goblins' attack pattern is changing, and now they are charging right through the fire. Han rushes forward to deal with the incoming enemies, but is alerted to the chieftain. It's because of him they are being bogged down like this. He is more intelligent and is ordering his troops. Eren and Jenna are holding out, but they can't handle much more of this. Oxygen decreases the more one spends around fire. Han cuts a path and tells everyone to gather behind him. He will say the plan once, and they're only going to have this one shot. Eren is concerned, but Han tells him that they need to take care of the goblin leader. Yavolka continues the cast as the goblins amass on both sides. They lunge into the fire but are taken down one by one. The cast is complete and a huge wave of fire takes out hundreds of goblins at a time. But it might not be enough, as Yavolka prepares stage 2 and erupts a huge explosion in the middle of the goblin horde. Jenna and Eren continue their assault, but Yavolka faints from mana depletion. Han catches her and tells her not to talk. Her magic is strong, but there is way too many for her to kill at once. If they surround them too soon, it'll be the end of all of them. The goblins' ultimate goal isn't the party of 4, but rather the fortress. And after losing so many forces, they decided to focus on their main goal and rush in on the fortress. The team sneaks past the horde and gets somewhere safe to hide out momentarily. The group is relieved because they were sure that they were about to die. He gives everyone a sip of a health potion, and this is the start of the real battle. The north is still being sieged. Han approaches the gate, but it signals an event, and 20 goblins spawn. He orders his party to get ready, and among the goblins is a level 23 ogre staring at our heroes. Han begins to assign roles, and Yavolka is ordered to cast a firewall and to stop the goblins alongside Eren. She's worried about the ogre, but it seems Han will take on this beast. It slams his hammer down, creating a massive crater, and one hit can mean certain death. He continues to dodge the ogre's strikes, and in this situation, his shield is useless. The monster reaches out its hand, but Han slashes it. Jenna tries to put some arrows into the monster's back, but it only enrages it more. But over time, Jenna can stack up damage on this huge target. Han takes the monster's attention again, as Jenna wonders where this thing's weak point is. And to make matters worse, Jenna alerts Han to the presence of yet another ogre. Eren has his hands full right now, and the party is stretched thin. The longer this goes on, the worse it will become. Han needs to take the risk. He puts his shield in front of the ogre's attack, taking the brunt of the blow. He ignores the pain and plunges his sword into his crotch. That's a low blow, dog. The ogre smacks his weapons down, but Han manages to leap over it, trying to pierce his sword into its neck. But the cut is too shallow. But he has to finish this. He takes his shield into both hands and nails his sword in deeper, killing the monster. One ogre down. The second one starts charging at Yavolka, but Jenna shoots arrows in the back of its neck and gets its attention. The monster doesn't change course. Han thinks that he's too late and is about to stomp its foot down on the small mage. Han calls out to her, but Yavolka isn't his target. Ogres have the ability to destroy walls and other objects, and the goblins don't have siege equipment. This means it's going for the dam. He yells for Jenna to intercept as she tries to slow it down, but Han rushes in, swearing to kill this beast. Right before it destroys the dam, Han and Jenna kill the ogre, sending its body into the river. Or that is what they thought. The ogre lifts its hand from the water and destroys the dam with its last remaining energy. Han stands there defeated. They failed. All the time they spent planning, all the information he tried to predict, is all a waste now. The soldiers won't be able to cross the river at this rate, and everyone in both parties, along with the civilians, will all die. Han's party calls out to him, but he struggles to think of what they should do next. Eren calls out to Han repeatedly as he stares at the broken dam. He tells the group that they need to go back and come up with another plan. Yavolka stops everyone and begins casting another spell, and Han can't believe his eyes as Yavolka summons a huge boulder. She slams the boulder into the broken dam, filling the gap that was created. Han is taken aback as she brags that telekinesis is a basic spell, and of course she knew that. But Han just gets angry that she didn't tell him that she had this ability. She's confused on why he is so angry, and he just pinches her cheek, telling her not to hide anything else from him. And he thanks her for her effort, and knows that without that spell, they would have all died. The only thing left to do is wait for the reinforcements. But the goblins start rushing in at them again, almost like they know what is coming. Han tells Yavolka to drink the rest of the potion, wondering if the reinforcement that he is waiting for even exists. A goblin rushes right at her, but right before it can touch Yavolka, a soldier intercepts it midair. A knight in silver aura and a red mane, riding a horse with a matching attire, stands in front of the goblin army. He orders the Iron Lion cavalry to show their might and crosses the river. Cavalry? Allied NPCs, Iron Lion cavalry, join the battle. Han takes control of the situation and orders his party to group up. The cavalry are only 500 in number, but they are much stronger than the city guards, as he sees them chop down waves of goblin infantry. It looks like Han's role here is done, but he looks towards some horses from some dead cavalrymen left behind, and asks his group if they know how to ride. It seems Han is the only one who doesn't know. As a master, you can't control such things, but you can impact the battle. For example, Han requests a skill book. It costs 500 gold, but the master quickly purchases it. It's a book on sale in the combat shop, and although he can't learn the skills that are directly related to combat, it is possible to learn other skills using this method. Han absorbs the book and gets a skill awakening. He mounts the horse like he's always been able to ride it, and the group moves out. With these reinforcements, they will even the playing field. Now, it's time for the counterattack. Han continues to ride and knows the force on the eastern side isn't a threat. They cannot scale the walls. The big challenge here is dealing with the siege equipment on the north side, and the cavalry are heading that way as well. But no way just following them leads the group to victory. It would be too easy. There's no way it would end just like that. Han orders his party to fall off to the side. They are moving away from the battlefield. Han doesn't think this will end well and shifts his direction towards the northern forest. The rain finally stops and Han spots the goblin raiders that were going to intercept the lion cavalry. If they use fire magic to deal with this force, they might have a chance. In addition to this, there are 3 ogres. Han tells Eren his plan, and if they cannot deal with these troops, the cavalry will fall. He asks Yavoka if she has enough mana to cast another spell, and she has just a little amount left. Han tells her to focus all her energy into this last attack. They move into the forest and they plan to set it ablaze. We shift to Party 2 desperately defending the walls, and Dika is holding his own, but almost falls into the swarm. Edith swings her dagger, killing the goblins and saves the young boy's life. The group defends, but they hear a cry from the lion cavalry. They charge in and Edith is alerted to their presence and knows that Han succeeded. Party 2 gets momentum as they hold off the goblins, and Yavoka charges up her last spell and sets the forest on fire. Han is concerned if she uses any more spells, she will go into mana overflow, so her job here is done. The defense of the city continued. About 100 soldiers fought desperately on the northern walls. The city's men suffered many casualties, and half the cavalry died fighting the ogres. And if Han didn't take care of the goblin raiders, cavalry would have been wiped out before they even arrived. Apart from all of that, the cavalrymen are much stronger than the goblins. They suffered an overwhelming numbers advantage, but they still managed to persevere. And after the remaining goblins were killed, the mission was over. Glory to the goddess, the soldiers yell. No one in either party died as the group breathes a sigh of relief. They are much stronger than they were from the 5th floor. Han wonders why the mission isn't finished yet, but it finally hits him. Even though they dealt with the monsters, the stage is not clear what is going on. There's nothing else to do. All of a sudden, a system prompt appears, now loading. Han looks around, wondering what's going on, but another message appears, restoring. A system error has occurred. Reconnecting. Please wait. Everything stopped and someone calls out to Han. Look behind you. Han turns to see the level 999 monster that brought him into this game. Han looks back knowing what is about to happen, and the Master Whatever gets the same shock that Han did. Han remembers this bastard from before, but what can he do now? With a party of max level 6-star heroes, Han was the first player in Korea to clear the 88th floor, not even using real money to progress. He still hit rank 5th in the global rankings. All of the aspects of the game was luck-based, and all battles were done automatically. The master can only give general instructions, but the heroes are the one who decide how to use their abilities. For an unknown reason, things that were impossible to do during a battle are allowed as well. If the game was really decided by star ranks and luck, Han would have never been able to rise to 5th in the world. The biggest reason he was addicted to this game was that with skill, you didn't need luck. But what skill can he use against this level 999 being in front of him? Even 7-star heroes have a max level of a 99. This is ridiculous. Next to this monstrosity is a level 15 Dark Priest, who whispers to Han, "We will be waiting for you." The two disappear into the ashes, and it seems Han was spared for today. The system reconnects and everything returns to normal. Jenna wonders what the look on Han's face is, and why is he so scared. He yells at the top of his lungs for the group to ride the horses into the castle, now, and he tells his party to hurry up. The Dark Priest he saw was a monster that isn't used to being in lower floors. We see energy flow into the corpses from the battlefield, and they grow into a hulking monstrosity that begins eating the soldiers. The strategy for fighting these Dark Priests is to run away to the place they came from. A living corpse appears with an unknown level, absorbing all of the fallen goblins and humans. The Dark Priest has an ability, Corpse Resurrection, and they will continue to attack unless you destroy their head. This type of enemy isn't something that should ever appear on the 10th floor. Party 1 opens the gates and Han throws Yavoka to Jenna, saying he leaves her in their care. He orders them to regroup with Edith and protect the goddess statue. Hold on until I return. Han rides off with Jenna and Eren screaming at him. How can he possibly deal with this enemy? He tells the group to wake up. Do you want to be zombie food, or do you want to live another day? The two understand their orders, and Han casually walks outside of the gates with a smile on his face. It wasn't even a question to him. They'll survive this floor. The door is shut behind him as he is alone against the horde of undead. With determination in his eyes, he stares them down. The enemy looks scary, but alone they are easy to deal with. Han rides through their ranks, slicing one after another. The only strategy Han has is to deal with the priest himself. A zombie ogre begins bashing the gate, alerting Han to his time limit. Zombie dogs begin to chase after him, but 2 arrows pierce their skulls. It seems Jenna wasn't ready to let him die. The soldiers hear the zombie ogre breaking the castle gate as they tremble in fear. The gates break and the horde flows in. The soldiers try to run, but it's only a matter of time. Han continues his mission and rides towards his target. He disappeared into the burning forest, and he's been waiting for him. If he is this confident, Han will have to end this himself. The undead are following 2 objectives: to destroy the statue and to eat the living. Their fighting abilities are worse than the hosts they occupy, but their strength is in their numbers. The undead also grow the more flesh they consume. Han thinks that Edith's leadership is much better than he anticipated, and even now she is calmly ordering everyone around. The only thing they need to prioritize is the safety of the statue. The walls are breached and the situation is similar to the 5th floor. The only saving grace here is a number of NPCs still around to act as shields from the wave of undead. Han has a time limit to deal with this black priest before everyone dies. Han gets a skill awakening, increasing his fire resistance to 2, and zombies come out of the fire. Han slashes them down and uses the last bit of his health potion. He reaches the end of the map, and he notices that Macken and Shuron are both scared, decreasing their stats. But it's to be expected of the newbies. Macken dies shortly after, and Edith is bleeding. Han needs to finish this now. As Han begins his fight with the sorcerer, a shadow bolt is fired at him. He blocks, but the strike is heavy. Black priests are vulnerable in melee, so he needs to close the distance. A volley of dark arrows are fired at Han, but he barely manages to evade. He blocks one using his skill, but now Han himself is bleeding. He would have died without his projectile defense skill. The situation is looking dire, and he can't find the priest in all of the smoke. He has to take a risk before he loses more HP. All of a sudden, a voice whispers, "I want to take you." Han has no options and speaks back, and the voice continues that Han is different from them. But another arrow is shot at him, disarming his sword. He goes to his dagger and enters his berserker state, running in the direction of the shot. He cuts through the arrow and spots the priest. Another arrow pierces his stomach and leg, leaving gaping holes in his body. But with the last sliver of life, he continues his attack, and in his berserker stance, he plunges his dagger into the priest, ending its life. But the damage takes its toll as Han spits up blood. The stage is still not clear, and Han accepts his fate and closes his eyes, fading into the darkness. A notification pops up that Shuron has died, but Han still hasn't moved on. What kind of shitty death is this, he wonders. He got dragged into this mess and didn't even get a fighting chance to win. We see a shot of his comrades all on the brink of death themselves. But all of a sudden, the statue turns green, and the stage has been cleared. The master gets 70 gold and a low-grade fire attribute stone, and the MVP is Han, and he levels up. The master gets a notification to use his materials to progress Han to the next level. A new dungeon has been unlocked, and the master gets a congratulations, and his waiting room name changes to Tanoir. Han opens his eyes, surprised that he even survived. He goes into the residence to spot Aaron sitting around the table, looking lifeless. He asks why he's so gloomy, but it seems everyone was worried about Han. He was sleeping for quite a while. Aaron asks the reason why they fight. He watched countless citizens be eaten alive by the undead. Han thinks Aaron's stress tolerance increased, but the man gets up to leave. Han tells Aaron he better not show up with that face tomorrow, and the man gives a light smile before leaving. We shift to the kitchen and it seems Chloe whipped up some amazing food, and Jenna is ecstatic. Han ordered Chloe to make the best food so it can increase the mood of the survivors, and that's the only thing he can do for right now. He notices Dika struggling, and it's going to take him a couple of days to mentally get over what just happened. The master logs in and again is notified that Han is awaiting advancement. He upgrades the synthesis building to the advancement room and synthesizes his 3 attribute stones into a low-grade advancement stone. It's a success, and Yasel goes to tell Han the good news, telling him that this is the start and he will be a 7-star hero before he knows it. But even in Han's long hours of playing this game, he himself has never had a 7-star hero. He enters the chamber and knows the master cannot see him inside. He places the attribute stone and knows that this will propel him to 2 stars. A light shines that blinds Han, and for a second he sees a vision of a mother holding a child. He draws his sword, but it seems that he is blocked by an invisible wall. Han doesn't have any family, so that baby cannot be him, and it has to be the character that he replaced, Han Slot. He can't be stressed over this and returns to the waiting room, but something is different. There's no buildings here. Yasel comes out of the rift, but she too looks a little smaller. What's going on? The fairy can't speak and Han is urged to go into the rift. He realizes what is going on and the portal begins to shake. The Advent dungeon is opening. An incredible pressure is felt, and Han, for the first time, is frightened. He goes into his berserker state to snap out of it, emerging from the portal. But emerging from the portal is the twisted creature that put him into this game. It thanks Han for finally sparing the time to meet him. Han points his sword towards this bastard and tells him that he will kill him. But even his max level party wasn't able to land even a scratch, so he stands little chance. The monster laughs at Han, asking why he's not charging right at him. Aren't you angry? Han just tells this thing to send him back if it's just gonna talk nonsense. The monster laughs, impressed with Han's self-control, but Han starts to feel a terrible headache. The being starts moving forward, telling Han that he is a special existence, and this waiting room is a gift for him. This stage was prepared for the most glorious player in Pick Me Up. The shadows around the monster begin to fade, revealing a human. Han, holding his head, can't understand what he is seeing, desperately asking the figure who she is. This person resembles Yasel, but doesn't know how to introduce herself. But Chad Han just calls her a bitch. She laughs and knows Han thinks that she might look like Yasel, but that's not really the case. Yasel looks like her. And in reality, the duplicate that Han knows is her 100,479th to be exact. And that number is similar to the player count of this game. She throws Han a card and it's revealed that she is the president of Mobius. Han thinks that this is some sort of cruel joke. He throws the card down, stepping on it, demanding to know why she brought him here. She smiles and tells Han not to get too upset. It was not expected for him to be summoned. It was really just an accident. Han threatens her and demands to be sent home, which makes the girl smile. A mere 1 star threatening her? Don't make me laugh. Han says that in time he will be strong enough, which makes the woman think that killing him now might be ideal. The spear is sent flying, but stops right before Han's heart, almost like a cruel joke. And the girl laughs again, saying how fearless Han is. Han asks what this woman wants from him. She must have some sort of goal for bringing him here. She says she only wants to talk, and in reality, she's a fan of Mr. Loki, number 5 in the world. And Niflheim is a top priority of the company. She brought him here to tell him the truth of this world. Loki, what do you think of this mobile game? Usually, people don't pay much attention to gacha games, but you are different. Loki always prioritized the content. The overarching story isn't that interesting, and there's not much to find out in the world. She snaps her finger, switching the location that they are at, and asks Han if he knows where this is. This is the Tananir continent, in the Haim Peninsula of the city Nelsa. Although it's the city from the 10th floor, as Han can see, it's completely destroyed. She shows him all the remaining areas of Tannoir, and all share the same fate. She asks Han if he thinks Niflheim is any different. This is what the game has become. Over 100 million continents facing annihilation all at once. This game has a story that only has one end. Even though characters try to change it, the result is always the same. The only thing to do is bring someone outside of the book into it to rewrite and fix the story. Even if space and time as they know it collapses, a higher dimensional being can alter reality, just through observation. This was the reason Pick Me Up was created. Han smiles and wonders what the grand story behind it all even is, and this takes the girl off guard. But she extends her hand towards Han. She needs his cooperation to save the world. But like I said in the first chapter, Han ain't no simp. He throws his dagger at her head, interrupting her, and he isn't a fan of this bullshit that she's spouting. The girl has a twisted smile as blood drips from her face, asking again if Han accepts or rejects. She made Han suffer and now she wants his help? What kind of bullshit is this? He declines and promises he will crush her with his bare hands. This makes the girl laugh and she's hurt by those words and walks towards Han. Han knows in his mind that he's hopeless right now and he can't possibly fight her. He tells her that they're done talking and asks to be sent back. The girl smiles yet again and she messed with the system to bring him here, and actually has a lot of respect for Loki. Compared to the other masters in this game, even if people are ranked higher than him, it doesn't explain the true difference in their skill. And that is because Loki has a unique achievement that no other master has. She puts a status screen. Master, trust your bond with the heroes. Han remembers these words from the tutorial. The girl continues that Han is the only one who truly knows what that phrase means. Among the 100 million masters, he stands alone. The location changes again and she asks Han if he remembers where this is. And this is the stage of the 80th floor. The place he was the master of a couple months ago. Out of all the players, only him and 4 others were granted permission to raid this stage. Ranked 6th and below are stuck on the 79th floor. Han recalls this area and it stressed him out for weeks. He asks why he's being shown this, and the girl summons 2 chairs, telling him to come watch the scene play out together. She asks how it feels to watch from within the space rather than from a phone. The 80th floor was the first conquest type floor. Even though the objective was hidden from the players, Pick Me Up had random stages, and the difficulty was always random. But after getting to the 80th floor, every ranker failed miserably, and it was nicknamed the Wailing Wall. Han also struggled, but again questions the point of showing him a video of him clearing this floor. She doesn't answer and tells him that maybe he can find out from watching. Han thinks that to clear this floor, he suffered humiliating defeats that resulted in the death of most of his heroes, and only his main party was able to complete it. This is hell, the only word he can use to describe it. We see the number of enemies, and there are over 7,000 level 100 and above monsters, the fragments of chaos. These were the biggest challenges on this floor. The woman smiles and asks Han if he knows. Pick Me Up's difficulty is altered depending on the account, and the difference in summon rates are like night and day. Han is shocked after hearing this. Do you think it was a coincidence you never pulled a hero above 5 stars? It's not that you were unlucky, it's just Niflheim had no heroes within it. We see small groups of level 300 monsters in this floor as well, and the server Niflheim was reviewed as an S-rank difficulty, and was the worst in all categories. And it's still a mystery how Han managed to climb to the 88th floor, after being handicapped from the start. A light flashes and Han's main party is summoned. These are the strongest heroes in Niflheim. From rank 5 to rank 1, they're all gathered here. The monsters begin flooding at the heroes when a spell is activated. The effects of the tactics room begin to apply. Han played the game manually by using the tactics interface, guiding his heroes to the best possible outcome. Because of this, new tactics and strats were invented by him in this floor alone. He took one objective after another before attacking the enemy. The plan was complicated, but the goal was simple. She tells Han to watch closely at what kind of existence he is to his heroes. The 5 stand around a ball-shaped map, and this is why Loki is unique. The 5 await their orders, and like always, they are amazed at the Master's perfect plan. Failure is not an option. The tactic mode ends in 10 seconds and the group prepares for battle. Each hero has a different legendary artifact, and we have Nihaku, the king's bow, Muden, the king's spear, Ridagon, the king's sword, Yurnet, the king's eye, and Cyrus, the king's flame. The mission starts and Cyrus sends a huge wave of fire, decimating the incoming enemies. The girl loves watching this part, and Han's heroes, sure, are impressive. They are the strongest 6-star heroes to exist. Only 7 stars can hope to match them. Han still doesn't understand the point of this, but this isn't what she wants to show him. What she wants him to see is how his heroes think of him as they climb the tower. They come to truly understand and despair their existence, after learning they're being used like some sort of toys. But Han's world was the only one where that was different. He was considered Niflheim's king, and after he disappeared, the heroes started frantically searching for him, and even are aware that he fell into their world. Think about it, Han. What kind of hero would jump from dimension to dimension, searching for their master? Do you think any others would do the same? And Han was a master that did not once use synthesis. Normal masters abuse this feature when heroes don't listen to their commands or are useless. Normal masters get rid of people without a second thought, and because of that, the waiting room is ruled through fear. Even if a low rank shows potential, typical masters just use them as fuel for their main heroes. But for Han, he has only ever pulled one 4-star, and people called it the doomed account, and even told him to remake it. But despite this, he held on. His whole life he was used to the irrationality. Han corrects the girl that he used synthesis, but only when he really needed to. The girl smiles because comparing him to other players, he's a saint. They would use synthesis almost daily. Before Han was famous as Loki, most masters treated heroes like toys and threw them out when it wasn't fun anymore. Han never threw anyone away if they had any potential, and if he ruled through fear, he would have never got to where he did. And his rewards is evident in his accomplishments. But now Han knows the reality of this game. The heroes are human, and the president has no idea how Han knew. It would be impossible to play like that if he didn't this entire time. That is her conclusion. The lady wants to know how it feels to know that all of Han's heroes were human. But her conclusion is that Han couldn't have ever played the way he did without knowing that fact. Even though the game was ultra realistic, he never assumed that they were real people, and his playstyle was the most efficient strategy. He crosses his arms, asking the girl if she put him through all of this just because she liked his playstyle. She smiles and laughs, saying how she would have much rather met him on Earth, but Han coldly reminds her that if he ever saw her in real life, he would bury her, and swears to the lady that she has earned his hatred, and he won't rest until he has his revenge. He is not from this game, and he is from Earth. She laughs this off again and Han thinks on the situation. If she wanted him to climb the tower, there would be no need to call him here. And Niflheim's group is still diligently proceeding with the attacks. There was no casualties up until the 88th floor, and he could taste the 90th. He tells the girl that he won't help her, and all he wants is for her to disappear from his sight. The CEO sighs and says that Han could have been the hero to save Mobius, but it doesn't matter. All she cares about is that Han reaches where she is, so she can withstand these insults for now. Han asks if the Dark Priest was her surprise on the 10th floor, which it turns out it was, but she promises not to interfere from the 15th floor and on. But the continent he is on will shock him, even if she doesn't. It's an S-rank difficulty, just like Niflheim. The chance the Master quits is 90%, but if Han accepts her help, she might change that. She swears on her name that if Han can climb the tower, he will be returned to Earth, and he will receive half of the shares of the Mobius company and become a mega corporation shareholder. She asks if he accepts, and Han does as long as he doesn't have to see her face. He can't trust her, but he doesn't have much of a choice. But as another fuck you, he lunges a dagger into her face. He'll climb the tower without her bullshit promises, and he'll return with his own strength. And that is his answer. The girl starts glitching out as she's bleeding from her face. She will forgive this disrespect, but has a gift to show him. As he climbs the tower, 2 gates open, and an ominous purple gas emanates and a light flashes, and we are shown the Townir continent, a place where humans and demi-humans live together, but an unknown enemy attacks. The continent is drowned in darkness and torn to pieces. The reason Pick-Me-Up's difficulty is so high is because the players have to reverse the battle that ended with failure. Turn back fate, Loki. You are the only hope. If he wants to save the world, then climb the tower. Many heroes will be on this journey. Trust your bond and carve out your future with your own hands. Do you think you can do it? Han thinks this display is full of shit, but the girl leaves a final message. We will be waiting for you. Han tells her to fuck off and whatever gets a notification. The hero's forgotten memories have awakened, and Han leveled up to 2 stars. The stat limit has increased and he exits the chamber. He is greeted by Eren and asks what happened, and Han just says it was his advancement, not getting into the psycho lady that he just met. He asks Eren if anything interesting happened, but nothing too crazy was going on. Han thinks on the girl he saw alongside Eren, and that must be his sister Nina. This is the reason for him to return, and Han's goal hasn't changed. If anything's different, he has a renewed determination to repay his debt. The next day comes, and a game announcement alerts the Masters, apologizing for the server downtime a few days ago. The Masters on the lower level floors suffered a loss of connection. Han knows that this has to do with his encounter with the CEO. We see the error compensation, and each Master will receive 500 gems, 50 gold, and 1 gift ticket. And all daily dungeons will remain open for 3 days. Ysel congratulates Han on his advancement, but he immediately tells her that he met her main body. She is confused, but Han says he knows that she is the CEO of Mobius, which makes Ysel's jaw drop. Han just casually says it's okay and just help him as she's been doing so. She pulls out a gift ticket and gives it to Han, and he asks why he's getting this, but is told the Master gave it to him. Even he realizes how OP Loki is. A gift can be given to a hero when they do something worthy of praise. Gold will be spent depending on the price of the gift. Higher level gifts require more gems and material. It's done using a premium currency. But if you use a gift ticket like this, everything is free up until the value of the ticket. Han's ticket has 10,000 gold and he thinks on it but gives it back to Ysel. He doesn't need it. And a status screen alerts the Master to this rejection. Ysel starts freaking out. There's so much that he can do with this ticket. What's your problem? Han just says that any decent item in the shop costs more than 10,000, so he's just gonna go to sleep. The Master opens the ticket and Ysel summons a warhorse statue and gifts it to Han. He wonders what the hell this is and just throws it to the side. It breaks and Ysel is heartbroken. He says that only giving a gift to one hero will grow resentment from the others. Giving out gifts for achievements is what makes a good master, and depending on heroes' personal traits, what they want will be different. Just giving them something isn't enough. Not using this mechanic properly is worse than not using it at all. In Han's case, he memorized all the personalities and hobbies of the top 100 heroes in Niflheim. He thinks of the warhorse statue and asks what the Master is thinking. Did you panic? We shift to the next day and a rift opens, and right now their Master's incompetence is their biggest weakness. Han needs him to improve. Yavoka's stress is at the max and because of the training and the 10th floor. A proper Master would have taken care of these things first, as we see her angered expression, asking where they're going. It's not a good idea to try the 11th floor, and they should probably start with the 8th or 9th. Whatever doesn't understand the game just yet, but Han sees he selects the 11th floor, and has a horrible realization that the Master thinks he's too good at this game, and he will try and take risks. I'm so good at this, itis. This is the worst feeling for new players. By not trying an easier floor and sending them straight in, it confirms the master thinks this game is too easy. And at the moment, the heroes are transported to the 11th floor, and the quest type is subjugation. This is a bad sign for Han. The master isn't a good player. How can they get to the 100th floor like this? They are sent into a graveyard and immediately attacked by 14 level 11 skeletons. Han has no time to think and orders his troops around. They need to deal with these enemies. One of the reasons Pick Me Up is a shitty RNG game is because the difficulty of the early stages are all determined by luck. If one pulled the good hero, then everything is a breeze. But if you are stuck with 1 stars, it takes a lot of effort to climb. Han begins his assault destroying the skeletons and thinks back on the high level heroes whatever had access to. His luck isn't too bad, having a lot of heroes over 3 stars. And the master was diligent in the early stages of the game, developing the waiting room, training heroes, and crafting items. Jenna is seen kicking some skeletons, and the master was using a similar strat to Han's, but it changed after the 5th floor. He cleared a mission that should have ended in failure, thanks to Han's leadership, and this spoiled him. And now he began to deviate. Without the right conditions, he used 5 premium summons, and without even getting 2 quality 5th members for both of his main parties, he thrusted them into the 10th floor. These mistakes are getting more and more apparent. Han might die if the master doesn't get a grip, and realize the true difficulty of this game. The team clears out the skeletons and rewards are given. The MVP is Han. He thinks it's been a while since he leveled up, and we see a snapshot of his skills. Back in the waiting room, Han calls to Yeselle and has a question for her, and she is eager to answer. She can't say too much, but Han interrupts her saying that he already heard most of the situation from her main body. Yeselle gets annoyed at this and makes an exception for Han, and he asks what her main body's name is. Yeselle says that the director has many names, numbering over 100 million. It changes based on the world that she is in, but in Tanoir, she is called Tail. Han thinks about this, and her name in Niflheim would be different as well. And after the 10th floor, this account was given the name Taonir. Han's was Niflheim, and rank 4's was Raglancid, and rank 3's was Ezekiel. If what Tail said was true, then she has a different name in over 100 million worlds. Han asks his next question, what is Mobius? Yeselle starts talking about the company but is interrupted. Not the company, and he's now informed that it's a spiral universe connected in parallel to many other worlds. Han analyzes this information, and this must be why each account has different heroes and quests. He asks Yeselle if each master is assigned to a different world, and now he's starting to understand. He asks if whatever their master is a regular human, and is told that only humans from Earth can become masters, but that's not what Han is asking. He wants to know if Tail messed with whatever or not. Yeselle begins to freak out. Mess with the master? She teleports out to check, and Han lays down, and he'll try to figure out this Mobius thing later. Yeselle pops back in saying whatever is 100% just a regular dude, and Han wonders if he can even trust this info. But Yeselle says that she got confirmation from another director. Doing something like this requires incredible conditions, and would take too much risk. Han closes his eyes and we're taken to the training grounds, and Ursher is seen training diligently. Han is alongside him training as well, and he needs to find a way to survive while the master is riding this high. He can't have any miscalculations. Han is sparring and he dodges Roderick's barrage of blows. He quickly turns his shield to block a strike from Ursher, and Edith rushes in behind him. He barely manages to dodge, and a 3-on-1 still is too much for him. If he plans good enough measures, he might be able to survive. Eren and Jenna join the fight, and Han thinks the best way to cure the master's cockiness is to get rid of the heroes that he relied on the most, which unfortunately is Han. Party 1 is called by Jenna, and they wonder if they're going to the 12th floor. This pace is too fast. They climbed the 11th yesterday, and didn't even get 1 full day of rest. Yeselle opens the gate, and Han realizes that the master is trying to speedrun 2 floors in 1 day. Han asks what floor they're being sent to, and Yeselle says the 12th. Han realizes the situation and knows that heroes can demand and insist against the master, and Han rejects his order to participate. Yeselle is shocked, and the party is shocked. They didn't know he could just refuse to go. Han doesn't tell them the part where there is consequences with this. Yeselle tries to make Han reconsider, but he stands firm, not moving an inch. Han knows what Yeselle is trying to say. A hero can refuse to do a dungeon, but can't refuse being synthesized. If the master gets too mad, then Han can be turned into food. But still, like a man, he rejects the order. Ivuka starts to panic, and what about the rest of the party? They can't fight without Han. He just tells the group that it's up to them as well. He won't stop them. Eren grips his spear and says if his boss isn't going, then neither is he. and Aaron refuses to participate. Jenna just yawns and joins in, leaving Yavolka stunned, and she too refuses to participate. Party 1 is now out of control, and a tip is shown that heroes can go on strike. And you can solve this by listening to their demands, or by punishing the leader. Han reads it and smirks at Ysel, but she swears that she didn't write that. Jenna asks what they should do now, but Han smiles and tells them all they can do now is wait. Whatever is stunned. Party 1 can't be operated. He never thought that a hero would refuse his commands. Han looks up to see his reaction, and if he read the online tutorials, then he would have known this could happen, but of course he didn't. Ysel calls for Party 2 and Edith comes out, confused on why Han isn't going. He tells Edith that they refused, which takes her off guard. Some time passes and Han explains his plan. Edith knows it's dangerous, but Han knows the dangers, and he might die if this doesn't go right. But Han asks if Edith plans to kill herself if the master orders it. She sees his point and thinks on it, and there's no reward to pointless loyalty. They are fighting not to die. Edith tells Han that her party will go, they want to get stronger, and Edith doesn't want to be synthesized. Party 2 enters and Jenna wonders what will happen to Party 1, and even Han doesn't know. It's all up to the master to decide. Han tells Jenna if he ends up being synthesized, she should give up this act and never disobey again. The group looks back at Han and they know he isn't going anywhere, and Han just looks back and smiles. He's happy on how far his group has come, but is alerted to Dika getting a bleeding debuff. Ursher is next, and now Dika is in fear, reducing his stats. The 12th floor is much more difficult than the 11th. Edith returns with an angry look and asks Han on how she can disobey orders, and Han tells her that it's pretty easy. Just refuse to participate. And she does just that, as Roderick carries out the 2 injured boys. Now, Party 2 can't be operated, and Ysel is trembling with fear. Han realizes that now whatever is forced to solve the situation. Han says that even though they are misbehaving, they still need to train. The 3 daily dungeons are opened as compensation, so they need to refill their potions. Also, Jenna and Aaron need to level up. They can enter the weekday dungeons at will, so they'll need to do that first. Ysel is concerned about the master. What if he quits? Han knows his problem, but if he can't handle something like this, then he was never meant to climb the tower. Ysel stresses even more, and what if Loki gets synthesized? Han just smiles, and he would prefer to die painlessly. Anyways, it's not even that hard to solve this issue. Just synthesize the hero who started it. Ysel is about to cry, but Han tells her that the master needs to learn to manage heroes' stress levels. If he can't, there will be many problems. The next day comes and Party 1 went in to collect materials, and they split into 2 teams, and they were able to obtain a basic fire stone. After that, they continued to train, and Han's sword and shield skill hit level 6. And now he is at a stage where he would need to train extraordinarily to reach a higher level. He needs to find better sparring partners, or add penalties while training. Han orders Yavolka and tells her to train her telekinesis magic only until she learns a new skill. She protests since fire skills are her forte, but Han threatens to only feed her potatoes. That entire day, the master didn't log in, and neither the next. Ysel goes over his shoulder, wondering if the master really did quit. But all of a sudden, just like that, he logs back in and Ysel lights up. Edith wonders if the master changed his mind, but Han doesn't think so. He knows that his confidence isn't that easy to erase. Han thinks that he's going to use real money again, and right on cue, the master does an advanced summon and spends 1500 gems. We get 3 rare 3-star heroes, Stein, Mazel, and Tassir. Han gets up and now it's time to greet the new recruits. Edith wonders how they will draft them, but Han says that they don't need to worry about that. They won't be able to join either party. The 3 arrive and Tassir is trying to sauce up the lady, but she is not having it. Tassir doesn't take this lightly and draws his weapon, becoming hostile towards Mazel, and she returns the favor. The 2 form a hostile relationship, but the only smart one of the 3 runs to Han, asking if he was here before them. He introduces himself as Stein, a knight in training, and politely asks if Han can stop these 2 from fighting. They won't listen at all. But they do agree on one thing, that Stein is a noob, and no one should listen to him. He's lucky his parents spoiled him. This enrages Stein, and now all 3 new recruits are hostile. Edith asks what's going on, but it seems all 3 don't fit well together. Hero chemistry is important. Some heroes receive bonus stats when in a party together, and the inverse is also true. But Han thinks it's rare for 3 heroes to begin fighting right after they were summoned. The brawl begins, but Ysel pops in, telling them that it's pointless. Do they want to die? She tells them the rules and to obey the master. But as usual, they are confused, and Mazel says if she wants to join a party, she wants to be with Han. But Ysel says that only the master can choose a party, and the 3 new recruits are fused into Party 3. The rift is opened and Han goes back to his room, leaving Edith surprised. He knows they won't be coming back. They enter the rift and Tassir is in a state of frenzy and begins attacking allies. Stein begins bleeding and all three of the heroes start fighting each other. Stein ends up killing an ally, which prevents Han from sleeping due to all of these notifications. Shortly after, all three members of the party return to the embrace of the goddess. Ysel pops back up next to Han and the master is about to quit the game, and Ysel comes crying to Han, wondering what they should do. What will happen to them? If the master doesn't log in for 5 months, they'll automatically be deleted. They can't let this happen. Han realizes that if that's true, he will have about 1 year and 6 months to live. Ysel starts freaking out. She hasn't been alive that long. She isn't ready to disappear. Han tells her to stop panicking. He didn't quit just yet. If he was going to stop playing, he would have stopped after synthesizing Shay into Han. Ysel calms down and trusts him, but he asks why she's so stressed. Are you gonna die if they don't climb the tower? But Ysel replies that she actually will, which shocks Han. If they don't finish this game, she disappears. Han immediately gets to realization, and his own world, Niflheim, doesn't have much time. The next day comes and the master logs in and buys a gold triple package, 5,000 gems and 3 gift tickets for $90, and does another premium summon. He gets 3 new rare 3-star heroes, Nokin, Wynard, and Jelen. Han looks at them and knows that they need to be taught some manners first. Nokin gets cocky, asking if Han wants to die, but he just tells him to meet him in the training grounds. Nokin isn't that patient and swings at Han, but Han just beats the living shit out of him. Edith does the same with the other hero, and Han thinks he bought another triple pull. He's not learning from his mistakes. He might be planning to throw these in with 2 random 1-stars and hope he can clear the 12th floor. This isn't ideal. You might as well pull for 5 heroes instead. But despite that, a new Party 3 is formed, with the 3 heroes and 2 1-stars. Han welcomes Nokin, saying he wanted to train him first, but he's being sent to fight immediately. The gate opens and Party 3 manages to come back alive. Only one of them was in critical condition. These people did better than the others, and Ysel gets 1 ticket from the master. A few days pass and the new recruits are training alongside Han and the boys, and he thinks to himself that his spot might be taken as the lead party. Nokin looks over menacingly at Han, but is bonked on the head. Han continues to run and more time passes. Even though Party 3 doesn't have a mage, their team comp isn't bad, and continued to climb floors, and whatever's plan seemed to be working. Nokin lifts his feet on the table, laughing at the other 2 parties. They've been abandoned by the master. If they can grow more, they will be able to consume them, except for the magician girl. They will add her to the party. Gelen wonders how, since they're already full, but Wynard says they have 2 useless punks, and they can get rid of 1. Han appears behind Nokin, scaring the shit out of him, saying how good their plan sounds. He asks what Han is doing here, and he just wants to get some water. They can continue scheming. Nokin starts stuttering, and Han thinks that they won't last long. They have poor teamwork and 2 1-stars in their party, and they're not being treated as human. But whatever is satisfied. After a few hiccups, Party 3 broke through the 14th floor and seemed to have an easy time, or maybe they were lucky. There isn't a single member of Party 3 over level 10. The moment they get to the 15th floor, the master will look to synthesize for them. Yavoka wonders if they should try and do something before this happens, and begs Han to do something. Han says he is doing something, but if she wants to change parties, he won't stop her. Yavoka doesn't want to and will stick next to Han. He asks her if she was practicing telekinesis, which she was, and she knows her progress. She learned silent and mobile casting. Han is happy about this, but she is about to pass out. But on the other hand, the master is not improving at all. The waiting room is well equipped, but there's too many heroes. Some facilities were unlocked but never constructed. He needs to upgrade the waiting room, but doesn't seem interested. It seems he only has his focus set on Party 3, as we see them training, preparing for the 15th floor. Party 3 seems to have realized that they are receiving the master's favor, and started to get cocky as a result, asking for more privileges in the waiting room. If they clear the 15th floor, they will grow more violent. They are called and each are given a health potion. Han and Jenna sit down to watch, and she is mad the master gave them the health pots. The rift opens and Nokin turns around, cursing Han, and tells him that when he comes back, the master will punish him. They enter the rift and Edith wonders why Han is so popular. But they all know if Party 3 manages to clear this floor, they need to stop their strike, and if not, they might die. They have a chance to clear it, no matter how small. There are times where the weaker party prevails, and if this happens, whatever's confidence will grow, and they won't be needed anymore, and Han will be synthesized. It's a gamble, but Party 3 is sent to a city, and confused on why it isn't a kill quest, and we see Nokin's stressed expression. 5 minutes pass and everyone is eagerly awaiting an update. No status messages have been seen, but all of a sudden, the whole party is annihilated. This shocks Han, and he realizes that this must be a special quest. They died after 5 minutes? The world shakes and it seems the master threw his phone and logged out. Han tells everyone to go back. Party 3 was wiped out. He thinks on the situation, and they were killed so fast, he didn't even get a chance to get any clues from their deaths. After this, whatever didn't log in for a long time. Ysella's panicking, asking Loki on what she should do. But all they can do now is eat and train. It's been 10 days so far, and Ysella's worried. The 1-stars are getting lazy. They don't even want to go into the daily dungeons. Han realizes that 10 days is really 3 days for the master, and right on schedule, he logs in again. He takes a screenshot and logs out. Ysella's in despair, but Han knows what he is doing, and asks Yselle if she has access to the internet. She does, and Han has a sinister look. We skip a little, and Yselle is protesting Han's idea. He doesn't care if she doesn't want to do it. She has to, unless she wants to die. She says that what he's asking for is not easy, and she can't interfere with information from another dimension. She says that his idea needs to pile together interactions left behind by the master, but to send an article or a reply takes much more work. Han gets up thinking Yselle is useless, and it seems he'll have to do this himself. Yselle starts to sweat profusely but smacks her cheek, ready to take the risk. If it's for Loki, she must do it. She puts a hologram with a keyboard and screen, but Han just wonders if she needs to keep that weird pose, and she says she does to keep up this display. She asks Han to hurry up, and he begins going online, and goes into the Pick Me Up forum. He clicks on Progress Help and finds whatever's post, which shows his problems with his current setup. Han sees his own hero portrait and is impressed on how well he looks. Who drew him? He sees that he is getting grilled in the comments, being called a noob, and Han notices that Yselle is getting to her limits. So he quickly needs to send the documents on his cloud. He sends them to whatever to help him succeed in Raid. He sends him an email from his account Loki, and everyone is freaking out, wondering if it's really him. Han wanted to post anonymously, but not much can be done. Yselle quickly falls over trying to catch her breath, but Han finished what he had to do. Yselle asks what he sent over, and Han sent his own player record and some other things on top. Yselle gets a renewed vigor. The Book of Heaven? She starts geeking out on this since everyone knows that is the key to all of Loki's attack patterns and methods, and some people would pay millions to get their hands on it. Loki just tells her to back off, and she's only half right. Han sent whatever his player record documents over 2 years, and a few theories. Han doesn't know if it contains everything in Pick Me Up, but it's everything that he analyzed and wrote. He can't guarantee if whatever will read all of the documents that he sent. The length and scale is like multiple books, and it wasn't meant for someone else to read. However, if he does read everything, and is able to adopt Loki's style, this might become interesting. Will the master quit? Or become better than he ever imagined. Some time passes and he logs back into the game and immediately gives Han a horse statue. Han messed with the document before sending it and added at the end that the master needs to gift the war horse statue 2 or more times to the hero he likes best. So this confirms that Han is the top hero. In the waiting room, a notification appears that Han is delighted by his gift, but wonders if he managed to read the documents. He doesn't need a lazy master. They need to climb to the top. He might not get everything now, but if he listens to the guide, it will come in time. And now Party 1 is no longer out of control and ready to clear the 15th floor.
Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell and like the video, but most important, leave a comment. Until the next video.